asking. As L. Ron Hubbard was quick to acknowledge, Scientology stands upon the shoulders of every science, religion, and philosophy that came before it, who, since time immemorial, have all been striving towards the same goal: flawless application and dissemination of Scientology technology. Not only does Scientology have the tools to adapt to a changing world, Scientology has the tools to adapt dozens of sitcoms, screenplays, and novels in a converted warehouse staffed round the clock with 100 Sea Org cadets newly hatted in Aristotelian plot structure at an undisclosed location in the San Jacinto Mountains. It is without further ado that I introduce Scientology Television's inaugural season lineup. To be or not to be is no longer the question on William Shakespeare's Total Certainty Rundown. Couple Shakespeare's classics with L. Ron Hubbard's advancements in the tech to discover a Hamlet achieving his spiritual potential in what was ultimately just another play about body thetans. To be. That is total certainty. Orange is the new black is an aberrated statement spreading false data. On Orange is Orange, restoring sanity in the prison system with Scientology. That prison is up and running with Narconon and Criminon rehabilitative programs within the year. Piper Chapman and Alex Voss clear up their past life gender confusion with Dianetics auditing and send away for problems of marriage correspondence courses with their boyfriends. More than ever, Scientology is poised to deliver the tech for a changing American landscape. Even our critics have a place on the Squirrel Busters Next Generation reality show, running proper ethics cycles on our critics with more private investigators, malware, and forged bomb threats than ever before, while making the world safe for religious freedom and millennials alike. Don't have cable? Not to worry. At a moment of pivotal economic scarcity and historically low movie ticket sales, our dozens of empty orgs positioned strategically across the globe with fully equipped audio-visual facilities are open to the public for free screenings. Perhaps Scientology's greatest advancement is that artists will never again have to choose between their craft and the tech. I am pleased to announce that all Scientology volunteer ministers in good standing will be invited to audition for our new weekly hour-long utopian victory, The Handmaid's Dianetics.
There is a house in New Handmaid. They call the handmaid son. It's pure the blessing of many a handmaid. God, I know I'm one. My mother was a handmaid. She sold my handmaid jeans. My father was a handmaid down in handmaid leaves. The only thing a handmaid needs is to be a handmaid. And the only time she's satisfied is when there is a house you handmade. They call Handmaid son. It's been the blessing of many a handmaid, and I know I'm
Is this thing on? Hello? Is this the Zoom? Hi. I'm very grateful that you were able to welcome me to the Codependence Anonymous meeting now that we have to move it online. I'm new for the first time, so I will just start. Throughout my 20s, I engaged in the heterosexual lifestyle. I sang Son of a Preacher Man with the best of them, and from time to time partook of a Chick-fil-A sandwich or so. Then last year I fell in love with somebody of the same sex, and then I started recoiling from my boyfriend's touch, and I get depressed whenever I'd see a woman on the subway who I was attracted to, but then wound up being a 17-year-old boy with a alternative lifestyle haircut. I kind of had no choice but to accept this for what it was, like a sign from God. That I was destined to love women. Well, I think my straight phase was kind of influenced by my relationship with Dad, which was pretty amazing. I grew up really confident around boys, and I kind of had a natural kinship. You know how people sexualize guy on girl? That's kind of how I just wound up being in a relationship. It's just like being with your best friend. Then in college, I kind of had to really kind of have all the attention, and I got that by being straight, because while everybody else was kind of going off on their sexual awakening and coke snorting and the kind of things adults expect of you at that age, I was just signing up to volunteer at my fundamentalist cult that my dad joined with me when I was 10. It's just not really thinking, my homoerotic tendencies were just not, another straight thing. It's kind of a big category. Either way, it's not like those kids' stories of those, acid fueled orgies of their Yates seminar and all that liberal arts stuff. Couldn't really compare with my stories about that cult that I was going off with. So I kind of felt like my dad was more ahead of his time. I don't think it's that PC to say that your straight phase might be because of mommy issues, but for me that kind of holds true. My mom was kind of a bad role model, not supporting me and my dad with Scientology and all that. So I kind of think it gave me some trust issues with women. And also, you might attribute my drastic shift to sexual fluidity. Well, sexual fluidity even has different meanings for different people. Like, sometimes it means you were dating a man and then you fell in love with a woman, and it's fine. You're getting married in the fall and you just don't need labels. You're so happy. And then sometimes it means, you're a repressed gay kid and your dad, signs you up to join him on the bridge to total freedom, trademark. I think female sexuality, people understand to be especially fluid. It can boil, it can freeze, it can evaporate. And then male sexuality is kind of like seen as more solid, like the stainless steel titanium cased tablets L. Ron Hubbard engraved with his religious texts and buried beneath the deserts of New Mexico. So to my friends and loved ones in the straight community, I'd say you have maybe lost a member, but you have gained a stalwart ally. I think sexual violence and oppression remain central themes of straight art and politics, along with the newer dangers of assimilation. In fact, my parents were openly in a straight marriage, and I have, some urgent questions for my mom, at least, but one of them was at least mostly straight. Some might argue that having straight parents that can turn you straight, but that is such a misconception. All kinds of people have, a straight phase, regardless of their upbringing. There's no kind of like straight agenda or conspiracy to like turn everybody straight, like people always kind of talk about. And especially not in Scientology, where Scientology doesn't even concern itself with like controlling people's sexual activity. Scientology is just kind of concerned with bringing everybody to a higher spiritual level. And like, as you become more spiritually advanced, you just become more heterosexual. But like, that's not really the focus, because when you get so spiritually advanced, we're all just going to be like, hey, to your friend across the cosmos, remember that time you were like stuck in your physical body and couldn't like get out whenever you wanted to? So I'm going to miss the sense of inclusion I had being straight. It was such a big like category, and the straight community so warm and welcoming, like nobody even notices when you're not straight. I didn't even question my absence of actual physical attraction towards men, or that void in the center of my relationships, or like all those topless women I was drawing in my high school notebooks, just to practice figure drawing, because women are like just more aesthetic, and Scientology is always saying that the artist is the most revered being on the planet. When I'm asked to choose a label, I don't really like want to get stuck with labels and stuff, but I tend to identify as a 1950s repressed lesbian housewife just because it gives a wink to my past. 1950s America, the birthplace of Scientology, basically resembles exactly what our society looked like 75 million years ago at the moment when Xenu landed on the planet Tegeac and rounded up trillions of thetans and then sealed us into volcanoes on planet Earth after kicking us out of the Galactic Confederacy. So I don't know. I think that experimenting with heterosexuality for 28 years has pretty been like a life-changing thing for me. Like I would never give it back. I've made a lot of discoveries about myself. A lot of them have been very gay, and it's like kind of like digging up a time capsule, except instead of, your old highlights magazine and your copy of the Lion King CD, the time capsule's just filled with like, emotions you didn't know you had and like psychological things you haven't dealt with yet. So it's a big surprise. But like Scientology, I think that knowledge has given me the tools to, think more clearly and achieve my potential too. And it's non-denominational. And, unlike Scientology, it's free. Well, thanks for listening. Oh, shoot, it's George. George is in the chat. Well, George is this guy who's following me to every single Codependence Anonymous meeting. I think he's like a spy hired by the church or like the FBI. I don't know which. I don't really know how he even found me here. Like I've gone to meetings where I've taken 2 buses and paid only in cash, and like he's still been there, and like I don't know how he got the password or the meeting ID. How did he come to this meeting? I don't want to talk to you, George. I finally thought I got away from you. How can I prove that that man is a spy? Can I report him to Codependents Anonymous? Let me tell you a story of no love and no glory. Manifest my one true act, lead me to the echo chamber, meet my death, and your black Dianetics, black Dianetics, withhold your thoughts, hypnotize, reactive mind will do the rest. It's taken me years of training to begin to tell the difference between my psychic abilities, the military voice-to-skull technology, and the hypnotic commands. But love? Well, that's just one thing I'll never understand. She used gestures and phrases from my childhood state, liminal tactics, abominable practice. Oh, your black Dianetics, black Dianetics has left me in a double bind. No, I cannot even recognize my own damn mind. I remember when we first locked eyes, you were playing your gay propaganda music on the subway platform while I was handing out postcards to Scientology's orientation film. How could I have known that you were a spy hired to blackmail me for homosexuality? Then again, I never did get your pronouns. All my files have been erased. All my dreams, they have faded. What's more illegal, my phone back door, or the fact that you keep leaving me with one thing more of your black Dianetics, black Dianetics. I once was good and simple too. Now I'm floating through the edge of the world I knew. Now I'm sorting through the rubble of a world I knew. After Sydney brought me into the church, she was like given a big award because she was the youngest person to ever have recruited a new member. She was in 4th grade and I was in 5th. And basically I was like never going to say like I was jealous, because jealousy just is a waste of time. But we both did the communications course together, which is why we were called twins. It's an adult level course, but we are both so high-toned, like we could handle it. Sydney finished faster, so she went on to study the next more advanced course that cost like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And my parents are like just like completely inhibitive to my spiritual potential. So I like signed up for the volunteer minister's course. Like I had to do it by myself. And then when I was doing the course, like I read about the Hubbard chart of like human evaluation. It's a very big chart, and it goes from lowest to highest levels of spiritual freedom on the tone scale. And so like if you're in grief, you're lower, and if you're in enthusiasm, you're higher. And you don't stay fixed, because like your mood changes as you go up and down the tone scale according to how your circumstances are, but each tone level is supposed to have a specific set of behavioral traits that don't ever change. Like it's a complete science. I love to study the chart. I just like sit and stare at it for hours, because it basically contains all of the secrets to like human behavior. And so I don't know, also like each person is supposed to have like a chronic tone level, and then like they have a temporary tone level, and basically nothing can make you go higher on the chart except Scientology. But like if your life gets worse, you can just like naturally go lower on the chart. Like, yeah, that's irregular practices, which means gay, and it's 1.1 on the tone scale. But I'm like up here at least about at like a 4, enthusiasm. So one day, like I asked my course supervisor, I was like, so, you know, I don't know, sometimes I get like weird feelings if like a girl is hot. Like I sweat a lot and get nervous, but like I don't like women. Like my mom is such a bitch, and they annoy the shit out of me most of the time. So I'm wondering, like, if I'm in a bad enough mood and I go lower down the tone scale all the way to 1.1 for like 5 seconds, does that mean that I'm like gay for 5 seconds? You know, because you can't like start a relationship and become gay and then like end it within the space of 5 seconds. And then he's like, well, what does the text say in the book? Because basically in Scientology, it's a high crime to ever give anybody a verbal explanation for any of the technology. You have to learn it yourselves, and you have to refer the person to look up the words in the dictionary and understand it on their own, so like you can think for yourself. So that's why he couldn't answer my question, and he's like, what does the text say? So I like read the text, and it says that basically every time you are at whatever level of the tone scale you're at, whether it's for like 20 years or like a day, you experience all those traits across the board in every column, no matter what. Even if you don't like act on them, even if I don't like feel gay for 5 minutes and like have a gay relationship for 5 minutes and then like go back up the tone scale. And so yeah, like I could like be gay for like 5 minutes if my reactive mind was re-stimulated enough. And he was like, okay, good. And then I blew, which is like, when you leave course, it means you blow it off. It means like you went past a word that you misunderstood, because the only reason why a person abandons a course of study is because they go past a word they don't understand.
But when they finally got me to come back and go on course, like, I had to study in the Division 6 course room, which is public, and I'd been studying in the executive course room. I didn't want to admit, like, or think about, like, maybe they had demoted me for some reason, but I don't know, instead of, like, the course supervisors in the executive course room, I had, like, the public course supervisor who was, like, not as tall and, like, not as pretty, but they were still forced to, like, pay attention to me and stuff, and so, like, I made the best of it, you know? A freeloader and a traitor, a middle class degrader, middle class potential trouble source is a thing I shall not be. Make the able more able, give them data that is stable. It will be my contribution for a sane society. It's the greatest love for the greatest number to help mankind go free.
Scientology is standard, you just apply the tech. What's true for you is true for you, even irregular sexual practices. But what's true for you is even truer than that. It's the modern science of mental health, keyword science of wisdom and wealth. And if you fuck with us, you better put the Wi-Fi on stealth, because you wastrels don't know what power means. Violent sacrifice, living on rice and beans. And if you think you have eternity, you have twice as much. So won't you spare some single lifetime, you immortal fuck, and join the Sea Org, join the Sea Org, join the motherfucking Sea Org. Here, I'll even hold your hand around the pen while you sign that shit, or just live your happy little life, you meat stick, and I'll see you in the public course room, Division 6, with all the other materialists.
You know, I think it's funny that they have the meeting for the porn addiction and the internet addiction in the same group. Like, I know that if there's no judgment either way, but I do happen to be here just for the internet addiction. You know, I can't actually even watch porn anymore because the hackers in my phone monitor everything I do, and they post it on the secret hate site about me. But that's fine, because that's helped me, like, reconnect, you know, more with the porn up here and the porn in here, and, like, that is way more important. But I've found also some healthy ways of, like, dealing with this whole situation about the hackers, because, like, I write these insulting poems about George in my phone because I know he's got to read them at night for his job as a private investigator using his remote spyware. So I write these poems that are insulting, and I know he's got to read them. I call him, I've got really bad names that I nickname him that only he knows, right, George? Well, he's keeping a straight face, but I thought that was a pretty good way of dealing with that. Yeah, they can't say anything or else they'd be admitting they hacked into my computer. Well, feel free to sing along, everybody. This song's supposed to make you feel good.
The internet is safe and full of friends, a place where you can believe. Every post and like is a memory. Your brain can't tell the difference, but the heart it knows, and the love just grows, and the music keeps on playing. Oh, internet.
Internet, you're the God that keeps me praying.
The internet is love and a part of you that the world might not accept, that might have died, that you never knew, that lives on the internet. But it won't just live, now it flourishes, and you found others just like you. Oh, internet, internet, you're the single shot that strikes true. Everybody! The internet sees all and got your face. You don't have a purpose, it can galvanize them, don't let you into full-fledged terrorism. Yeah, but a terrorist is relative to your philosophical meaning of internet. Internet, you give every life a meaning. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah. The internet is death and will comfort you as your life fades around you. The internet shines brighter still, though the darkness found you. For the world is cruel and she'll strike you down, but you'll be lifted higher. Oh, internet, where your consciousness is uploaded from the fire.
The internet is you, there's no escape. We all died long ago. Your thoughts and hopes and that book that you wrote are on an algorithm that can duplicate you, so good and true, minus all your flaws and demons. Oh, internet, internet, you're the only voice and reason.
Last one. The internet will take your pain away, and now you're made of light. All your suffering is gently erased, so you can be effective in the war to come, and the war will come, and it will be fought within us, using microchips to control the drones so that we can still have Christmas. Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, you guys are great. Well, I never thought I'd be back here. Fellow Scientologists, I am here at weekly graduation to attest to the operating Phaeton level 8. My operating Phaeton powers began to surface when the church attempted to frame me as a terrorist using military-style espionage, but I outed the subject of my debilitating gay infatuation as a spy,
using the psychic abilities that are only available at the higher spiritual levels of achievement. After I recognized the complicated possibility that I was a operating Thetan who must have achieved those levels as a Scientologist in my previous lifetime, I had to test this theory by going back on course and seeing if I was capable of auditing myself, as you do at the higher levels. So I attempted to see if I could go back in my previous lifetimes and find traumatic events and resolve them through Dianetics auditing on my own. I succeeded in doing so. However, in the process of doing so, I learned that I was not actually gay. I was merely experiencing past life gender confusion because not only was I a man in my past life, I was one of the most influential and powerful men of the past few centuries, Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard. I was L. Ron Hubbard in the lifetime previous to this one. And I blew from the church in this lifetime because I encountered a misunderstood word while I was on course. And that word is the word gay. So I cleared the word gay in the dictionary, and it turns out that I'm not actually gay. I'm going to be reclaiming my role as the leader of this church, working closely alongside the spy who was hired to seduce me, so that we can locate other past life Scientologists who might have money on account or need to certify their OT levels in this lifetime, or still need to fulfill their billion-year contracts at the Sea Org. And I know that this is going to yield Scientology's biggest expansion yet.
Well, I remember it all very well. Looking back, it was this lifetime I turned 13. I lived with my downstat mom and dad, but I knew I was an immortal being. We didn't have money for auditing, to say the least. We were hard pressed. Then Mama spent every last penny she had to buy me a handmaid's dress. Well, Mama washed and curled and combed my hair and tied the bonnet that had come with the dress. But I kept having daily crying spells, so I went to the therapist. It was red with woolen trim and it fit me good. And staring back in the looking glass was a handmaid wearing a smaller body under a hood. Here's your glove of hover, don't let me down. Here's your glove of hover, don't let me down. Well, Mama listened to the therapist on the phone, but the two of them were both super weak. And I saw the tears well up in my daddy's eyes as he started to speak. She looked at the glossary and then she looked at me and took a ragged breath. You're real smart. If you act up, they'll use you for an experiment. He handed me an ethics office slip for an appointment after school. And I shivered as I watched a roach crawl across my basic study manual tools. It sounded like somebody else was talking, asking ethics, what do I do? Write down what you did to your parents of Hubbard. You caused what they did to you. Here's your glove of Hubbard, don't let me down. Here's your glove of Hubbard, don't let me down. God is nothing but me and you. You did the things God did to you, so don't let me down now. You better start moving up tone. That was the last time I saw my dad before he gave up on the science of the mind. And just like my volunteer minister's course warned, he inexplicably just declined. But it started the cycle of cause and effect, and for me there's no way out. Scientologists are the only ones who know what they're talking about. I did what I chose to do, and I knew with total certainty I was gonna be at total cause with Dianetics technology. I couldn't see spending the rest of my life as a mortal piece of shit. Humans have potential, it's godlike, I'm here to help you achieve it. Here's your glove of Hubbard, don't let me down. Here's your glove of Hubbard, don't let me down. God is nothing but me and you. You did the things God did to you, so don't let me down now. You better start moving up tone. Hubbard!
Woo! Yeah. All right. Thanks for coming to our show. Live from Kosi.
So we're going to take a quick 10-minute intermission.
Everybody, the internet sees all and got your face. You don't have a purpose, it can galvanize them, don't let you into full-fledged terrorism. Yeah, but a terrorist is relative to your philosophical meaning of internet. Internet, you give every life a meaning. Oh, oh, oh.
The internet is safe and full of friends, a place where you can believe. Every post and like is a memory. Your brain can't tell the difference. But the heart it knows, and the love just grows, and the music keeps on playing. Oh, internet, internet, you're the God that keeps me praying.
All through the universe we'd go a walking, matter, energy, space and time would all cease.